What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video, we're going to be taking another look at the Infinity as a part of my Does It Suck series. The Infinity is the Legendary Vladof pistol. It drops most commonly from Doc Mercy, who appears in both the Threehorn's Valley and Digistruct Peak. Like many other weapons, the Infinity received a significant buff as a part of the community patch, which is why we're going to be taking another look at the weapon. We're going to start here without the community patch applied, and then move on to applying the community patch to see how the weapon has changed. This particular variant of the Infinity pistol does have a Vladof grip and the base damage accessory giving it a purging prefix. We have it here in corrosive, but it is also available in shock, and I do have one in shock. It's also available in fire and non-elemental as well, but it is not available in slag, which is kind of unique. If we take a look at this weapon, obviously it has a magazine size of 1 and it does not consume ammo. That's kind of its whole gimmick there. When firing the weapon, you'll notice that it begins to approximate the shape of an infinity pattern. We'll shoot it against this wall over here first, hopefully giving it enough space to kind of show us these two ovals here. So as you shoot it more and more, it'll begin to not look like the shape of the infinity symbol, but the infinity symbol is here on the side of the barrel. And when you first shoot it, that's the shape that it's kind of trying to approximate. When you have boost to accuracy and fire rate and some other different bonuses, it can throw off this a little bit. So I am obviously already spec'd into precision. We have 5 points here, and so without these extra 5 points in precision, the spread would be even a little bit wonkier, and we'll actually go back to Sanctuary and respec so we can take a look at that before applying the community patch. When shooting it up here against a wall though, or at extremely close range like this wall is, you'll notice that the spread is fairly manageable. Obviously, it's going to be spread out wider horizontally than it is vertically, but it does okay, and most of those pellets are going to be congregated in the middle because the spread pattern that it takes, and some scholars have called this a sideways 8 in the past, but in the middle there, they overlap, and that will give you the highest concentration of pellets in the middle, hopefully. It doesn't always work out that way, but at least it does a lot of the time. And so that's kind of the spread of this weapon when not using any further boost via the class mods to precision or fire rate. Now, if we do increase the fire rate of it with a Disturbed Stalker comm, we'll notice that the spread changes a little bit. So if we shoot it here, we can see that it's still just as wide as it was before, perhaps even a little bit wider. Yeah, the right bound is a little bit further, the left bound might be a little bit further as well, but it's also even more spread out vertically. And this actually gets worse if you use a relic that boosts the fire rate like the Sheriff's Badge does. So let's see how it does with the Sheriff's Badge here. You can see that this is a pretty crazy spread at this point, and it gets, way bigger than either of these two spreads were. Without the fire rate boost or with only one fire rate boost, the 2 fire rate boost spread is even larger. Now, there are kind of two minds as to how you should use your class mod and relic to boost the Infinity best. Some people will recommend a fire rate class mod like a Disturbed Stalker or a Chaotic Evil comm, and I believe that the Chaotic Evil comm is actually better than the Disturbed Stalker. We'll get back to that when we get to the Sanctuary testing dummy. And then also using a Sheriff's Badge to increase the fire rate as well, because that would give you the most damage with the B. Now, if you're using the Infinity pistol with the B, I can say that this is going to be probably your better option here, is just to increase the fire rate as much as you can, unless you truly think that you're going to get better results having the more accuracy from the Legendary Sniper comm. Now, even without the B, though, I think, or especially without the B, I think that the Legendary Sniper comm and a Bone of the Ancients is going to be much better to use than a Sheriff's Badge and a class mod that boosts the fire rate. When we have the Legendary Sniper comm on, I didn't want to use Deception there. When we have the Legendary Sniper comm on, we obviously have a boost of 10 out of 5 in precision, which increases the accuracy even further. Then we also get some other skills that help out with the damage as well, including headshot and velocity, but especially one shot, one kill, which is going to add a significant amount of gun damage because the Infinity pistol is always going to have a fully loaded magazine, and therefore you get the one shot, one kill bonus. Now let's take a look at how the weapon performs here, spread-wise, with the Legendary Sniper and Bone of the Ancients. I actually prefer the Bone of the Ancients over the Sheriff's Badge as well, because it gets you Deception more often, and that is kind of a twofold benefit there. One, it helps you get your shield up or survive a lot more, frequently and easier by having Deception more often, and it also lets you use Deathmark and Death Blossom way more often as well when you're in Deception, which is a huge DPS boost. And so with that in mind, I find that the cooldown rate from the Bone of the Ancients is very, very nice, and then the extra elemental damage only helps it further outpace the Sheriff's Badge. Now that's what I find. If you have a different playstyle or you're using the B Shield, you might find that the Sheriff's Badge is going to be better for you. And in fact, I'm going to do 2 abbreviated runs here in the Washburn Refinery where we do the first room and then the guaranteed super badass with both of these different setups. One with a legendary sniper and a Bone of the Ancients, and then one with a class mod that boosts fire rate and a Sheriff's Badge. Now theoretically, you could go with a hybrid here using a legendary sniper and a Sheriff's Badge. That way you're getting a DPS boost and a fire rate boost and an accuracy boost. You kind of go best of both worlds if you wanted to. I'm not exactly sure which situation is going to work out best, but we'll head to the testing dummy to kind of look at it here in a minute. So the spread on the Infinity Pistol, like I said, is wider horizontally than it is vertically, and that actually works out all right for loaders. You can see here that it is definitely spread out more horizontally than it is vertically, and it works okay with loaders because they have critical hits at either side of their shoulders and their eye, which are all kind of in the same horizontal plane. Now with that in mind, not all loaders have the 3 critical hit spots up top, like a Sergeant loader, for example, might not, and so, or actually just doesn't, and so that'll make it harder against some of those loaders. But obviously it does okay with Bore because it's putting a ton of pellets out there, and we had enemies that had critical hit spots in the same plane, so that worked out well as well. We'll go ahead and take out this guy here. I should have switched to the shock one in order to take out his shield, but the Infinity did okay there. Now, even though this weapon's not super accurate, it does okay against exploders because you're eventually able to find one of the critical hit spots on it, which is good stuff. So I'm taking a ton of damage there. I'm going to sneak around the corner just so that we don't get murked, and then we'll go back in here and take a look at what's available to us. Cool. So this gun loader, it looks like he's going to need some slag. Obviously, the Slago negative takes just a moment for its fuse time to activate without the community patch applied. So that's a little bit of a bummer there, but not a huge deal. So against charging enemies, be it a bull loader or a exploder here, the Infinity does okay. It doesn't, stop them in one shot like a lot of other weapons would if you actually hit those critical hits. But you're firing so many rounds at a pretty quick rate that you're going to eventually, unless you're extremely unlucky, be able to actually hit a critical hit on an enemy and make them pause or, be disabled for just a moment there. So that's good stuff. Let's see how it does here against this super badass loader. Now, again, he's another enemy that has the multiple critical hit spots up top, so hopefully we're able to disable one of those before too long and end up taking him out. So the weapon does okay with the Legendary Sniper and the Bone of the Ancients class, or Relic, excuse me. So let's go ahead and quit out here and use the Sheriff's Badge and a class mod that boosts fire rate as well. Now, I honestly believe that the Chaotic Evil comm is much better than the Disturbed Stalker comm, and the Disturbed Stalker comm is only recommended because it was available first. Obviously this was available when the game was originally released, whereas the Chaotic Evil and other alignment comms did not come until way later in Borderlands 2's lifecycle with the Tiny Tina DLC. So with that in mind, I don't know. I'm going to use the Disturbed Stalker comm here, but we'll compare them when we get to the testing dummy in Sanctuary. So here's our enemy again. We have a higher fire rate this time, but perhaps we'll hit less critical hits and they deal a little bit less damage when we actually hit those critical hits. Still, takes them out fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and see how we do against some of the enemies down here. They're unfortunately not all 3 grouped up again, but hopefully the power loader will head over there to towards our other enemies for us. So, still got some good bore action there. Obviously, the weapon is putting out a ton of pellets, and so with bore, it's going to do okay when you have enemies grouped up. Some people may question why I'm spec'd into Killer with this weapon, because we're not getting a reload speed bonus, but I will say that Killer is often still effective just as a critical hit damage bonus when you have your kill skills activated. So, with that in mind, I didn't think that Killer was a bad choice. Go ahead and try to disable this hot loader here just because I don't want to take fire damage. So that is one of the things that is interesting to note about this weapon is because it's less precise, you cannot take out a power loader or excuse me, a hot loader's arm at range quite as easily as you would be able to with another weapon. And so with that in mind, the weapon is a little bit less effective at disabling loaders than weapons that are a little bit more accurate, perhaps. It can obviously still do it, though. Go ahead and kill this exploder up here. Perfect. Again, to the super badass loader. We'll see how it does. Now, without the B shield, I'm not really sure what's going to be better, a Disturbed Stalker comm or a Chaotic Evil. I think that they're going to be about equal, to be honest with you. 6-1, half a dozen the other. Either way, though, they're both still not as potent as some of the other Legendary Vladof options with 0. Regardless, it can still do work here. Now let's go to Sanctuary and take a look at how it does once we apply the community patch, but also how the spread is once we completely spec out of precision. Because the community patch buff on this weapon did not affect any other thing than strictly the spread of the weapon. The fire rate, damage, and other stats of the Infinity have been unchanged, except for its spread. And so I'm very interested to see how that spread is actually going to do for us here. So let's go ahead and I guess we can test the different class mods here real quick against the testing dummy before we respec. Now, with that in mind, we are going to be using Corrosive against the testing dummy, which isn't going to be a problem because we're looking for the relative difference, even though the testing dummy is going to resist Corrosive here. So with the Disturbed Stalker comm and the Sheriff's Badge, a single critical hit is hitting for 530,000, I think. Maybe a little bit less. 442,000 there? Yeah, 442,000 before Rising Shot applies. And then 492 once it is applied. At least one stack of it. If we have 5 stacks of it, looks like we're hitting for 693 on a critical hit. So let's switch over now to a Chaotic Evil comm and see if that's any different. So right away we're getting 720 on the first shot. I think that the Chaotic Evil comm is so much better than the Disturbed Stalker comm, especially since the extra bonuses on the Disturbed Stalker, pistol magazine size, does not affect the Infinity at all, and shield recharge rate, while it's okay, it's not really that effective. It would be a lot better if it was shield recharge delay, because once things do hit their shield recharge delay, they recharge pretty quickly as far as their rate goes. In addition to that, 0 skill deception helps you keep your shield up pretty easily when you are hidden, and then 0 skill grim will help you get your shield back fairly quickly as well. So with that in mind, I don't feel that the extra bonuses on the Disturbed Stalker comm really make it useful over the Chaotic Evil Rogue comm. Let's see what the Chaotic Evil does when we have a full Rising Shot here. Looks like I'm seeing about 895k there, so almost 900,000. And that is with a pretty high fire rate, so that's happening pretty quickly. Let's take a look at what it does with the Sheriff's Badge real quick, or not the Sheriff's Badge, without the Sheriff's Badge, and instead using a Legendary Sniper and Bone of the Ancients. This should give us a lot more damage on a single critical hit. So 1248 without Rising Shot applied. With Rising Shot applied, it looks like we're going to be getting 1508. So significant damage improvement with the Legendary Sniper and the Bone of the Ancients, but obviously you are firing a lot slower. However, it is more accurate. So I'm not really sure what is going to be the best option there. I'd feel that it really is kind of dependent on your play style. If you get really, really close to the enemies, i.e. you're playing 0 very aggressively and you get at point blank range every single time where the accuracy boost on the Legendary Sniper isn't going to help you, maybe the Chaotic Evil is going to be best for that. However, if you play like I do, not fully aggressive, but somewhere in between, a happy medium of aggressive and, I guess you would say passive, but passive isn't really what I'm looking for. Aggressive and safety, balancing both aggression and player safety, I would feel that the Legendary Sniper comm is going to be a little bit better than the Chaotic Evil Rogue comm just because I'm using it at a little bit further range than absolute point blank range. That's just what I feel though, and I feel that I'm able to hit more critical hits with the Legendary Sniper comm than I am with a fire rate comm. And it's still got a high fire rate, right? It's still firing at, 9 rounds a second, which is a very high rate of fire. Now, since the biggest increase or the main change on this weapon with the community patch, I guess the only change is the spread of the weapon, what I want to do here is spec completely out of velocity so that we can get a true approximation of the spread that this weapon has before and after the community patch. So we need to find somewhere here in Sanctuary where we have a wall that shows bullet decals, this one does. And we have a spot that we can stand at that we can have some repeatability with. So I'm going to stand, I guess, right here on this line. And we're going to shoot right here, kind of in the middle of this, I don't know what you would call that, building, I guess. So that's how big the spread is without any points into precision and without the comm boosting accuracy at all. So obviously this comm is still boosting precision, but since I don't have a skill point in it, it's not being activated. So that's kind of the spread there, right? Looks like it goes, I don't know if these guys will both be here, both of these sanctuary citizens. But, you know, it goes basically from the right bound of this guy to the left bound of this guy almost, or kind of the middle of this guy as far as its left bound. But you can see that's kind of the spread that we're looking at without the community patch. So let's apply the community patch and see how that spread has changed. Now, it could be without the community patch that I find that the fire rate versions are better because I don't need as much of an accuracy boost. Could be wrong. We'll see. So again, we still have the same infinity pistol, and it's just going to have a tighter spread now. Doesn't look like either of our bros are chilling here by the wall this time, though, so that's unfortunate. So standing about this far away, and you can see that the spread is so much tighter now. Good lord. With the community patch, they made that spread so much better. Now, what happens if we spec into velocity, or not velocity, well, I guess velocity, but mainly precision. I want to see what happens when we spec into precision here. So, just in case precision happens to be one of those skills that is affected by the class mod. Some and some aren't. You don't have to respec for some of them. You do have to respec for some others. I'm unsure. Just for the consistency of this test, we did go ahead and drop the class mod. So again, with the Legendary Sniper Comm, yeah, we got a tighter spread with the Legendary Sniper Comm than without it. So with that in mind, I still find that the Legendary Sniper Comm's boost to precision is still going to be something that I like. So let's go ahead and build out the rest of this skill tree here. I'm going to go ahead and max out one shot, one kill, obviously. We'll come back to some of these other skills once we get down to Death Blossom. Now, Two Fang is going to be a skill that only activates if you have a lower fire rate, and the Infinity reaches a higher fire rate pretty quickly if you're using a Disturbed Stalker comm, or a Chaotic Evil, or a Sheriff's Badge, or probably even a Vengeful version of the Infinity, and so that's why I'm not going to spec into Two Fang. Now, we could potentially spec into Two Fang and use like a Jacob's Grip on the Infinity Pistol to lower the fire rate so that we would get Two Fang more often, but meh, it's not. I don't think that Two Fang would be a terribly effective boost with this weapon, to be honest with you. So now I'm going to go ahead and spec all the way down into 4 points into Follow Through again, and then we'll put 1 into Execute. Alright, so we still have 5 more skill points here. We could either go Kill Confirmed, which is no longer boosted by the Legendary Sniper Comm, or we could go Killer. Now, Killer is going to give us plus 50% critical hit instead of plus 32 or 40 rather, but Killer will only activate when we have a kill recently, whereas this will activate when we're ADSing. I'm unsure what'll be best. I'll go with Killer, even though the reload speed's not going to help us much. We'll see how it does. When we get kills, that extra potential damage is cool. So even though we may have a little bit less consistency using Killer instead of Kill Confirmed, we have more potential. So again, with the Legendary Sniper, 1498, and let's see what we're at without the Legendary Sniper, and instead using a Disturbed Stalker. Now, I did bring in a purple Disturbed Stalker here because the community patch allows it to boost velocity, and I feel like velocity will help us a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and shoot with that one time here, assuming the Infinity will let us hit the critical hit. 615. And then if you have Max Rising Shot, let's get a few critical hits out there. All right, I'm seeing a 961. I think that 961 is the highest I see. So 961 when you have Max Rising Shot there. Switching back over to the Legendary Sniper. And that was with the Bone of the Ancients on both of these relics here. Max Rising Shot's going to be 1508. So definitely higher damage with the Legendary Sniper Comm than with the Disturbed Stalker. Again, the max damage you can get on the Disturbed Stalker, I think, is 968. I see some 889s there. That's the wrong Disturbed Stalker, though. That's the blue version. Going back to the purple version of the Disturbed Stalker. 961. So definitely higher damage there with the Legendary Sniper. Now, let's see what a Chaotic Evil's doing here real quick. Yeah, Chaotic Evil's definitely going to be better than the Disturbed Stalker as far as I'm concerned. Even without Rising Shot, the damage is almost 900k, and you're just going to have better time with the Chaotic Evil than you are the Disturbed Stalker. Now, when you're using the Sheriff's Badge instead of the Bone of the Ancients, obviously you get an even faster fire rate, but you do less damage, you know, way less damage than you do with the Bone of the Ancients there. So, just for comparison, I want to see what the Legendary Sniper can do with the Sheriff's Badge and then what it does with the Bone of the Ancients real quick. So 986 on the first shot there, I think. That's pretty good. And then maximum, I think I saw 1173 is the highest. And so with the Bone of the Ancients, it's going to be much higher than that. Shoots a little bit slower, but it can get up to 1508. So I really still think, even though the community patch has increased the tightness or decreased the spread of this particular weapon, that the Legendary Sniper is still going to be Zero's best option for using it because it provides a substantial DPS boost via the skills like One Shot, One Kill, Velocity, and Headshot, but it also is going to allow you to still, even though the spread has been tightened, still hit more critical hits because the spread is tighter with the Legendary Sniper Comm. So I'll run through it here with the Legendary Sniper Comm. We should see a significant improvement in our time to kill a lot of these enemies because the critical hits are going to become more common because the weapon is not quite as inaccurate. And so that's pretty cool there. Let's go ahead and see how many enemies we can kill with this weapon in situations like this. Now, obviously, the boost to the Disturbed Stalker Comm is going to help the Disturbed Stalker Comm perform a little bit better. The boost to the Slago negative should have helped me out more there, but somehow this enemy still didn't get slagged. Not a huge deal. We'll get our health back, and then we'll continue to kill these guys. I do like that the weapon's a little bit more accurate. That makes it a little bit more fun to use, at least. But it's still not like as accurate as a Lady Fist or something would be. And if you were using this gun just to apply the B shield, I'd much recommend using the Lady Fist. I put a little time into mobbing with the Lady Fist recently, and I found it way more enjoyable than using the Infinity Pistol. And so while you can see that the Infinity Pistol is definitely able to kill enemies here at Overpower level 8, that does make it hard to say that it sucks until you compare it to Zero's other options. Like, the Infinity is a legendary pistol, and specifically it's a Legendary Vladof. And if you compare this to another Legendary Vladof, like a Lyuda, you'll find that you'll find these enemies much easier to deal with than if you're using the Infinity Pistol. And even if you're using the B Shield, and I get that a lot of people just use the Infinity as a delivery system for the B Shield, you'll find that there are so many better delivery systems for the B Shield than the Infinity Pistol is. At least that's what I've found. Obviously, the Infinity Pistol, it's kind of hard to say that it sucks because it's a viable weapon at OP8, with or without the community patch, at least with Zero. I find that with other characters, it's really hard to actually hit critical hits with this weapon, making it less effective. But with Zero, it's pretty powerful because you can boost precision so well. I find that it helps this weapon out. And obviously this weapon's decent with bore and stuff, so some of Zero's other skills help out as well. Now, it is a little bit not synergetic with Zero's action skill there, where you're kind of going for burst damage. This isn't really a burst damage weapon, but it kind of shows that even though Zero's action skill is really built for burst damage, Zero's such a dynamic character that he can even make high fire rate weapons work normally, so that's kind of cool. That guy got stuck up there. We'll take him out like that. Perhaps he just didn't want to die to the Infinity Pistol because it's embarrassing, and I can sympathize with that. Okay. A few more enemies to take out here. Looks like we're finally getting back to some loaders that actually have guns and stuff, which will make it a little bit more difficult for us, but not too difficult. Again, having seen what other options can do, the Infinity Pistol seems lackluster, but if you have no point of reference, the Infinity Pistol does take out enemies, and so in that regard, the Infinity definitely doesn't suck, but it does suck compared to some of Zero's other options, and I also just don't feel that it fits the character as well, right? He's supposed to be an assassin, you know, someone with a high burst damage, basically, and his action skill is built that way. And so Zero's synergy with the Infinity, although it's higher than any other character's synergy with the Infinity, does not match Zero's synergy with other weapons, or other weapons that are more synergetic with him. So, I don't know. The Infinity's okay, it's just still not very good, right? It definitely doesn't suck. It would be hard to say that this weapon sucks. But for example, Borshot, who is an exceptional Zero player, when I had made this video without the community patch, did go ahead and do a Digistruct peak run with the Infinity pistol. And he did it one with and without the B shield, and it's an impressive run either way. Now, without the B shield, his time I think was about 40 minutes or there, around there, and with the B shield it was still north of 30 minutes. And so either way, it took him over 30 minutes with the Infinity to work through Digistruct peak, which is decent. He's a very good Digistruct peak player, especially with Zero. He set a very impressive time with the Infinity pistol. But if you went and looked at his runs with Melee, you'll see that he has one run that I think is sub 13 minutes with Melee. And so it really goes to show that this weapon as a mobbing weapon is very ineffective compared to some of Zero's other options. Now, as a rating option, I recently showed that it just pales in comparison to numerous other options for Zero. And I feel that Digistruct Peak is kind of its best mobbing scenario, but I don't have the patience to run this weapon through Digistruct Peak, so we're just going to use Borshot's videos for reference there. I'll leave them linked in the description, but I do think they're illustrative of the fact that even as a mobbing weapon, even on Zero, the Infinity pistol is just not up to snuff with what other weapons can do. Now, we'll go ahead and take this guy out. I'm unsure why Gearbox did not allow this weapon to come in Slag either. It seems like this weapon would not have been overpowered in Slag Element. To me, it definitely would not have seemed overpowered in Slagged Element, because the effective slagging rate on this weapon would still be low. Now, so a Pimpernel in Slag is like 65%. Let's see what a Pimpernel in Fire is real quick. So a Pimpernel in Fire is like 40%. So instead of it being 12% on the Infinity pistol, I would assume that it would slag at something like maybe 20% or so. I'm not so sure, but either way, its slagging rate would not be so high that I would find it more effective than other slagging weapons. It would be kind of cute if you could slag with infinite ammo, but I guess Gearbox just didn't want you to do that. I find that kind of be a weird design decision, because the Slag Infinity would have been a great slagging weapon on Gauge, because you could never mess up your Anarchy with it, and then close enough would spread it around to everybody pretty quickly, which would be kind of cool. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. I was thinking that that could truly be the best option to use the Infinity, is to simply use it as a slagging weapon on Gauge with close enough. I could be wrong though, I don't play a ton of Gauge, and so maybe I'm just making that up. Let's go forward here and kill Hurley and some of the other enemies in here. You can see though that it's hard to really say that the weapon straight up sucks, because it doesn't. Even without the community patch applied, it can still kill things. But it does suck compared to Zero's other options, where he can excel so much better than he does with the Infinity pistol. I would also say that just the idea of using an inaccurate weapon on a character that's built around precision and, burst damage is something that just turns me off of the weapon. And that is a personal preference there, but it is still a preference. Alright, we'll go ahead and shoot at this enemy here with Slag, finish him off. Perfect. The Infinity is done okay, it's just not the strongest weapon in the game. And people often say that it is one of Zero's best options. I would not put this in Zero's top 20 options. Basically, any Vladof rifle with any barrel is going to be better than this. I don't know what all of the Vladof barrels are named. I know one of them's a horror show. We obviously know the Droog, etc., etc. Those would all be better options than the Infinity pistol is going to be on Zero. In addition to that, they all can benefit from Critical Ascension, which makes them much better as well. Just blow up some of these barrels here, since I am already low on health. Might as well try to protect ourselves a little bit more. There's a corrosive barrel right here. Okay, perfect. This weapon's also not as effective at blowing up barrels as some other weapons, because some other weapons can, actually hit where you're shooting. consistently. Whereas this one does not. This weapon's also slower at disabling the arms of, say, a super badass loader, or really any loader, than another weapon might be. And so because of that, this weapon's a little bit less effective at keeping you safe than other weapons would be. Even if we're not comparing time to kill, just time to disable on certain enemies, the Infinity's still going to be an inferior option to a lot of other weapons. We could go ahead and equip the Vladof rifle and then compare the time that we'd get running through this map with the Vladof rifle instead of the Vladof pistol, but I think it would be a little bit redundant because we know a Lyuda would work through this map much faster than the Infinity has today. So, going to need to disable his arms here in order to actually be able to fight him effectively, and so hopefully we're able to knock off those arms without too much trouble here. Now that we've knocked off those arms, the Infinity will be a decent weapon to just stand here and win a war of attrition against him, because his critical hits are kind of hard to hit anyway, and so the spread of this weapon might actually just make us a little bit luckier and actually hit those crotch critical hits. Doesn't look like we got anything special from Hurley. We'll go ahead and move on to the last few loaders in this room. But, like I was saying, if you compare the maximum efficiency possible with some of Zero's mobbing skills, be it melee or critical ascension based builds, you'll find that they both far outpace the Infinity pistol. In fact, I would even say a shotgun is going to use one shot, one kill better and more effectively than the Infinity pistol does it. Perhaps we could do some timed trials here in the Washburn Refinery, using the Infinity pistol and using some other options to kind of determine how poor the Infinity pistol is compared to some of Zero's better mobbing options, but don't really think that needs to be a part of this video specific. Perhaps we could make that its own video, kind of like we did for the rating scenarios using the Infinity pistol and using other options. You will find, though, that in a rating scenario, Zero has numerous better options than the Infinity pistol, even if you're just using the Infinity pistol as a delivery system for the B shield. Now, like I said, the Lady Fist is going to be your best option as a pistol goes, and then you'll have a wide variety of better options as far as snipers go as well. Now, with that in mind, in a mobbing scenario, I think that Borshot's Digistruct peak run really goes to show, just how far the Infinity lags behind Zero's better mobbing options. Now, most people aren't as good with melee as Borshot is. I'm not as good with melee as Borshot is. Borshot's probably up there right behind Striker as far as best melee Zeros in the game. But I would also imagine that he's one of the best Infinity Zeros in the game, because no one who's any good really plays with the Infinity, and having the Infinity in the hands of a good player like Borshot kind of shows what it is capable of when a high-level player is playing with it. I could go to Digistruct Peak, practice with it, get decent with it, beat Digistruct Peak with it, but I don't really want to. I feel that that would be extremely boring, and I just feel that it would be better to leave Borshot's video in the description, so that's what I'm going to do there. As always, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't yet taken the time to subscribe, please do so. I'd appreciate that. Does it suck regarding the Infinity pistol? It's a hard question to answer. If you're just comparing the Infinity pistol's abilities against enemies, and you're not looking at what other weapons or what other playstyles can do, the Infinity does seem pretty strong. But when you look at Zero's potency with other weapons, with other better options, you'll notice that they perform much better than the Infinity pistol. And so in that regard, it's hard to say that this weapon doesn't suck when so many other weapons got significant increases in potency and viability with the community patch. The Infinity pistol did get buffed by the community patch as well, but I would say it has been surpassed by way more options than it was without the community patch. There are many more weapons that are even better than the Infinity pistol now with the community patch. Even though the Infinity got a buff, there are weapons that have outpaced it because of the community patch. I would say that this weapon is actually worse in comparison to other weapons with the community patch than it is without the community patch. And so in that regard, I really kind of want to say that the weapon does suck, but it still does okay. So it's hard to say that it sucks here at Overpower level 8. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Do appreciate it. If you haven't yet taken the time to subscribe, please do so. I'd appreciate that as well. Otherwise, I do hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.